All right, let's talk about everybody's favorite video game. Talk about Grifton. Let's talk about this, man. This is good stuff. I'm sure you're gonna have some insight. By the way, congratulations on your interview with CI Games, right? CI Games.
Yep,
Was he the?
CEO.
Is he the CEO?
He is a
Yeah,
CEO, yeah.
that's what I thought. So I thought he was. At first, I thought he was just like the head, like developer, but then I
No.
realized no, he's a CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations. That's a good interview.
Thank you.
Speaking of studios, so this is pretty funny, right? Because there was a leak. Shout out to Smash AT. I don't know if he's watching. He's another one doesn't watch my content, but he leaked from his insider, and I'm sure you're aware that he leaked that the Edmonton studio was going to be potentially closing down sometime around like February for Bioware, and obviously Jeff Grubbs decided to steal that story and put it out there and said that that's not happening, no way, no how, blah blah, whatever. Well, now apparently, that's not the case. Apparently, the studio that's behind Dragon Age: The Veilguard is actually being, and they're using nice words. And I want your opinion on this. They're using nice words such as restructured, right, or they're maneuvering certain developers over to other parts of EA, but they're not really moving them to parts of BioWare, right? So, like, they have a Mass Effect team. It's not as big as the Dragon Age Veilguard team, to my understanding, and they have a team that is led by a few veterans that were in the Mass Effect trilogy. And now it seems like that some of the people over at Edmonton are being moved over to EA, but they don't have roles for everybody. So obviously it means that people are getting fired, and obviously it means that this studio is really probably going to shut down. So I wonder if Jeff Grubbs is going to make a correction on his article that he stole the information from Smash AT. But I'll let you have at it. What do you think about this?
A journo making a correction?
All
That's
right, I
not
know
going
I'm
to
asking for a
happen.
lot. I know I'm
That
asking
that's
for a
asking for
lot.
the impossible.
I know, but still, I'm just wondering. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, what's your take on this?
I think that we all obviously knew that there were going to be major layoffs, and they always love to call it restructuring because it just looks better to investors. It sounds better, but they're completely screwed. Like, if they do not pull off a success with the next Mass Effect game, they're toast. I don't necessarily even think that they could go back to that glory that they once had, especially after Veilguard, which was 10 years in development, hundreds of millions of dollars, dumped down the drain. And with this Mass Effect game, they do have a lot of industry vets that are working on it, which is really cool. But first of all, there's no reason to trust them. And second of all, this has already been in development since 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not even supposed to, at least as far as we're hearing, come out until 2027. That's already getting close to the Veilguard development time. And a lot of these veterans were not even affiliated with the project in 2021. So it, to me, screams that they pick them up now because they're desperate after seeing Veilguard's failure.
So I believe that it's been in development since 2021, but it's been kind of like a skeleton crew,
Yeah.
mainly led by the people who are the veterans, plus a couple of developers here and there. They were probably sketching out the story, doing some art or whatever they could, because a lot of the developers were moved over to Veilguard to try to get that game out, from my understanding anyway. But now that game is out, you would think, okay, they would, push the developers back over to Mass Effect, but it doesn't seem to be the case. It really doesn't. It seems like a lot of them are probably going to be jobless after this.
I also wonder what's going to happen financially because they had, I think it was like last year, they said that they had predicted over Veilguard's lifespan for it to sell like 10 million copies, which
Right.
is insane, which money raised would have gone to the next Dragon Age game, but one would assume that also would have went to Mass Effect. So is it going to be smaller scale now? Are they going to have a much tighter budget? Are they basically just going to go all out because they know that this is make or break for BioWare? Like, it's a very interesting situation that ultimately it doesn't matter what happens because there's no trust in BioWare anymore.
Well, that was going to be my next question, right? So at this point, I personally feel, and you can chime in, I feel as if BioWare is in the same spot as Ubisoft almost, the funny thing is we don't know BioWare's books. I haven't really seen
Yeah.
anything talking about how deep in the hole they are, how much they've
No.
lost, because we got to understand. I've seen EA, right? I've seen EA's numbers, but EA can mask a lot of BioWare's failures with their other, cash cows. So you really don't know too much, but you got to imagine from this perspective, right? Mass Effect Andromeda, pretty much a failure for the most part. Anthem is basically the Concord of its time. Massive failure. Lost them tons of money. Now Dragon Age: The Veilguard, massive failure. We already know that lost hundreds of millions of dollars at the minimum. So between all of these games and their failures, you got to imagine that BioWare itself is probably in such a hole that even if Mass Effect is successful, right? Even if it is, I don't know if it's going to be enough to pull them out of the gutter. I just don't. I think, and that's how I feel about Shadows with Ubisoft. I think at this point, Mass Effect being a banger or not, it really doesn't matter. It's more so for EA's ego than anything to have a pretty good, solid Mass Effect game come out. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely agree. It's like I love Mass Effect, but on the flip side, I mean, BioWare has created flop after flop after flop. And even look at like the Knights of the Old Republic remake. They're not affiliated with that, but we all assumed for years that they were going to be the studio making it. And it just kind of seemed that they wanted to hyper focus on Dragon Age being their big like fantasy franchise. And well, now they don't have Dragon Age. They don't have Anthem, which they were initially banking on. Like, we're just talking flop after flop.
I mean, who would honestly in today's world look forward to a new Dragon Age game after what happened? I really can't imagine that many people, even some of the normies that picked up the game and when they played it, they were like, what the fuck am I playing? And then they ended up refunding it or whatnot. I can't see anybody being super excited about it except for maybe a couple of the shills online or whatever.
Yeah, and it's just mind-boggling that they went in that direction. Like, who really said, except for, I guess, the self-inserts and the activists, who really said to themselves, this is what people want, the modern audience Dragon Age? What a fucking joke.
You know what's sad, too, is that the death of the IP, right? The death of Dragon Age, it's the game itself implodes, and the only people that suffer are the gamers that enjoy that franchise.
Yeah.
Because the developer or the developers, right? They get fired, doesn't matter. They fell upwards. They move on to another studio. Sometimes though, it's getting a little hard for them to do that because now so many studios are firing people, and they don't have enough roles to, they don't have enough roles to fit for everybody. So it's very hard for these people to get back into the gaming industry, which is probably a good thing. But when somebody like Corin Bush, for example, gets gets a hand on something like this, ruins the IP, PR says that they didn't get fired, but we all know they got fired. But anyway,
we didn't get fired.
Right. We just left of our own volition. Okay, sure, no problem. But whatever. We all know they got fired. So when somebody like that gets fired, they move on. I mean, the dude's already got another job supposedly lined up. He said he's going to be working on a next unannounced RPG. I'm scared to know whatever the fuck that is. I don't want him anywhere near an RPG unless it's something indie or whatever, then I don't care. But something established or franchise, like, no, stay away from it. Then you got to imagine, like, if he is working on a AAA game, who the hell hired the guy who destroyed Dragon Age as a franchise? Like, why would you hire that man? That makes no fucking sense whatsoever. So anyway, the whole point that I was going to say is that this just sucks because now you got the death of a franchise. The gamers are the ones that take the hit for it. And these other people, especially the directors and higher up developers, they just move on to the next franchise they're going to kill. They fail upwards all the time. And it's a shitty situation.
It is. And it again, it's sad because these people really don't give a fuck. And they don't have to, but that means we also don't have to spend money on their trash. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, I can't say I'm particularly shocked that this is happening, but look at all of the millions of people who were excited for Veilguard when it was originally called Dreadwolf,
yeah,
which was a way cooler.
I was hyped for Dreadwolf. I was hyped. I really was.
And then they started, showing different teasers with these different characters like Tosh, and then they changed the name, and it's like it all went downhill from there.
Yeah, it really sucks. I'm going to read the update from the BioWare studio. So it says, hello, everyone. Today, we are turning towards the future and preparing for the next chapter in BioWare's story. As we announced in August of 2023, we are changing how we build games to meet the needs of our upcoming projects and hold ourselves to the highest quality standards, which I wish you did with Veilguard, but you clearly didn't. Now that Dragon Age of Veilguard has been released, a core team at BioWare is developing the next Mass Effect game under the leadership of veterans from the original trilogy, including Mike Gamble, Preston, I can't say that last name, Derek Watts, Paris Lay, and others. I know Mike Gamble. I don't remember the other three. I don't know why, but I know of Mike Gamble. In keeping with our fierce commitment to innovating during the development and delivery of Mass Effect, we have challenged ourselves to think deeply about delivering the best experience to our fans. So, okay, so this sentence right here, I want your input on this. So they said, we are taking this opportunity between full development cycles to reimagine how we work at BioWare. What do you think that means?
It's such a PR speak answer. I think that they're going to lay off tons of their staff. I think that we are going to see them, like going back to trying to hire the best of the best. Because again, I think that this Mass Effect game will be like their last major title if it flops. I mean, who really knows? But it's just so, oh yeah, we need to reimagine and rethink and then restructure. Oh yeah, we're not tearing apart our company limb by limb. We're just slightly altering it. To me, it almost reads like we're not going to do anything, but we're also trying to convince you that we're doing something.
So when I read this, I took it, and maybe I'm wrong, I took it as they are going to start slowly but surely. And maybe I'm just being hopeful. Who knows? It doesn't really matter. I think they're going to slowly but surely start shying away from the way they made the Dragon Age of Veilguard, which is like that kind of mindset those developers had over at the Edmunton studio. I think they're going to slowly shy away from that because when they said reimagine how we work at BioWare, I mean, I'm not really sure what that means aside from supposedly all of the developers are super happy with each other. At least that's what Corin Bush was trying to paint. Super happy with each other, happy with the product, loved Veilguard, so excited for it.
I guess at least 5 people did.
Right. All these people who are like supposedly loving the game, and yet meanwhile, freaking Smash AT's got like 3 leakers from BioWare leaking stuff. Like clearly
a healthy company doesn't have leakers. When was the last time we heard about a From Software leaker?
Oh, of course.
Never. Because people are happy with their products and their developers are actually passionate people, and maybe they're really well paid and because they're doing so well. Either way, happy developers aren't developers that leak information typically.
Who was I forgot. I don't know if it was From Software or Shift Up. I don't remember. Who was the developer that after they found success, they gave all their employees like crazy raises?
Shift Up has done that. They had given every one of their employees like PS5 Pros. They gave them, I think it in USD was like $5,000 bonus each. That was only a couple of weeks ago. That was Shift Up.
No, it was also From Software, so we're both right.
Oh, From Software did as well. I didn't remember that one.
Yeah.
I mean, not really shocking. When again, companies are making a hell of a lot of money, they're very generous.
Yeah, look, it's right here. So this is when after Elden Ring's success, From Software announces salary increase of 12% across the board for all their employees.
Good developers deserve to be paid.
Yeah, that's fucking base. That's how it should be. And this is a prime example of, when a company does the right thing, not only for gamers playing their game, but also for their employees who made the game. So that's pretty based. I knew it was one of the two. I couldn't remember, but you're also right about Shift Up
because that was only like 2 months ago. I didn't remember the From Software because it could have also had been like Armored Core as well because that did good for them.
I actually liked Armored Core.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot. It's obviously not between Elden Ring and Armored Core. I'm gonna pick Elden Ring, but still.
Yeah, Elden Ring sweeps, but
yeah. So yeah, I think they're gonna be reimagine. I fucking hate that term, but reimagining how they work at BioWare, and by that they mean probably shying away from whatever made them decide on Veilguard in the first place. But here, I'll say this, and you can let me know if you agree or disagree. When it comes to Mass Effect, the only thing that's going to determine whether or not that game is ultra mega successful or not, obviously aside from no dumb shit in the game, is the game going to continue Shepard's story? or is it not?
Right. Right. If it's
That's
like
really
a
the choice.
brand new reboot or something, then it's toast.
Right. It's not gonna. I want to say toast, but it's not going to be nowhere near what
Well,
it could
okay,
be.
true. I shouldn't say toast, but it's going to receive much more criticism and it's going to be put under that much more of a microscope.
Right. Because for me, it's like I will immediately either raise an eyebrow or shy away, depending on whether or not they are continuing Shepard's story,
Yeah.
or at least referencing that, hidden scene at the end of part 3, where Shepard breathes at the last second and stuff like that. So, because
Mhm.
Andromeda was a totally different thing, obviously, fucking light years
God.
away from the original story. So, my face is tired. Yeah, I remember that. I can't believe they fucking did that. Anyway, in keeping with our fierce commitment to innovating during the development and delivery of Mass Effect, we have challenged ourselves to think deeply about delivering the best experience to our fans. We are taking this opportunity between full development cycles to reimagine how we work at BioWare.
Is it
Give it
just me who's a little skeptical on the way that they're just saying Mass Effect and they're not saying a Mass Effect like 5 or they're not saying a Mass Effect code name? Is it just me like overthinking? Because I thought that that was kind of bizarre.
so
They're
I
not
thought
specifying if it's a continuation or not.
right. So I thought two things, right? I found it strange they didn't number it, right?
Yeah,
Like you're saying, because it should be, is it 4 or is Andromeda 4 or
right.
is it 5? Like,
Are we
how,
forgetting about Andromeda, please? That would
all
be
right.
pretty based.
Is it like that never happened? Right. So I find it a little sus. They didn't number it, number one. And number two, when it comes to just calling it Mass Effect, I worry that it's going to be some live service garbage. I
Yeah,
really do.
it
And the
could be.
reason why I worry about that is because look at what they tried to do with Dreadwolf. They initially tried to make Dreadwolf live service slop, and
Hmm.
then they failed at it. And then they reimagined it. And then they failed at that again. And then they eventually came up with Veilguard. So I'm worried that Mass Effect is going to fall down the same line of like, okay, we're going to turn it into a live service game,
Yeah.
which is why they would just call it Mass Effect. But I don't know. I think they're going to try. I think they're going to at least try to go for that live service esque kind of thing, even if it's in the
Probably.
simplest way, selling skins or whatever. They're going to try.
Cringe.
Very. Given this stage of development, we don't require support from the full studio. Huh. We have incredible talent here at BioWare, and so have worked diligently over the past few months to match many, keyword many, of our colleagues with other teams at EA that had open roles that were a strong fit. Today's news will see BioWare become a more agile, meaning lighter, focused studio that produces unforgettable RPGs. We appreciate your support as we build a new future. So basically, they're nuking the fucking place, which shout out to Smash AT. I think he's in the chat. It
He
looks like
is,
your
yeah.
leaker was correct. So I would hope that you're going to make a tweet today asking Jeff Grubbs for an apology that you're never going to get,
Yeah,
because
that's not happening.
that's basically where we're at. They're nuking the studio. They're only taking the people who can actually get the job done. They're cutting all the fat, all the bloat. That's how it sounds. Maybe I'm being hopeful, but that's how it sounds. And they're going to move forward with who they have.
Yeah.
So now, do we think this helps Mass Effect, or do we think this hurts? Do we think it hurts it?
I think it's I think that they're at rock bottom and there's really only one way to go up because I truly am going into it with the mindset that they're going to do the worst job possible, that it's going to be another Veilguard. And I hate to be negative, but this is their fourth major failure in a row. Well, five if you count Shadow Realms, which was canceled a decade
Yep.
ago. So that's five major fails in a row. If this was 15 years ago, I'd be like, oh my God, Bioware, it's going to be a 10 out of 10. I'd have all the confidence in the world, but that's not
Yep.
the case anymore. So I think it's already at rock bottom.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So this is why I wish I can know BioWare's numbers,
Yeah,
but we
that would be
don't.
great, but
We only know EA's numbers, right? And the reason why they do that is because EA has been, there's no doubt about it. I don't care what any shill fucking tells anybody. EA has been subsidizing BioWare for over 10 years. Over 10 years, they've been subsidizing BioWare, just
mhm.
throwing money at this studio, hoping they put out a banger again, and it's just not been happening. And they're going to subsidize them for another few years until Mass Effect comes out. It's fucking nuts how much money. BioWare must be
Yeah.
so negative in the whole. I can only imagine what their books look like. Seriously.
No, I agree. And another thing to consider, which this has been floating around for a little while. The word on the street is that EA CEO Andrew Wilson is going to take over Disney. So if that happens and we see a major leadership shift up, will they end up basically cutting these numbers for Mass Effect's teams even more? Will they say, no, this studio's had too many failures, a decade of failures, hundreds of millions of dollars wasted. We need to cut our losses now.
But didn't Andrew Wilson fuck up on something recently? I could have sworn people were like, oh, they're rethinking, his potential taking over of Disney.
I mean, there has been back and forth, and like I said, it's been floating around for months at this point, but he hasn't denied it. Nobody's really denied it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, well, first it was that woman who was supposedly taking over. I forgot her name. Then that got thrown out pretty quickly, and then his name popped up. So, yeah. I mean, it's clear that Disney's looking for their next, like, 10 to 15-year CEO or whatever the case may be, because Bob Iger is old as fuck and wants to go cry with his millions and millions of dollars. So, again, anyway, let's just, we're going to end the subject on this one, but I just want to bring this up really fast. Where is it at? I just want to talk about this really quick. I really can't stand when they constantly say that they have such incredible talent. All these developers are so amazing. They're so great. And I sit here and I'm like, if they're so amazing, why are you firing them? Yeah. You're firing them because they're clearly not fucking amazing. And this is why I keep saying this level of toxic positivity bullshit that's taking over this industry is really hurting it at its core, because nobody can be honest with each other and genuinely critique each other. Although I got to be honest with you, maybe from the inside, they're a little bit more honest, right? Maybe, and I doubt it, but I'm just saying, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. Maybe on the inside, they're more honest, which is why they're choosing who they fire and explaining why to those people. But on the outside, they're never going to let us see the truth. They never want to, they, especially now more than ever. And like I was saying in yesterday's stream, the shift is changing. Like you can see it with your eyes. You can see the paradigm shift where YouTubers are taking over as the overall, media. And I hate being called that, but that's really what it is. Because, and I used you as an example yesterday, because I'm like, Vera Dark had a fucking interview with the CEO of CI Games. That's usually something that would happen with the Kotaku journalists back in the day, or IGN journalists back in the day. But now it's not really a thing. There's other examples of that happening too. You got insiders who, instead of leaking information to these journalists that they know are going to take the information and probably give up their anonymity secretly and get them fired, they're giving the information to people like Smash JT, or even Endymion.
Or they're afraid of giving information to Jason Schreiers, who sit on it for 5 years just to make a book on it and make a bunch of money from it.
That's so fucking true. Wow, that's actually Oh, how's he doing, by the way, Jason Schreier, Mr. Get Woke, go to the top of the charts? How'd that work out?
He's had me blocked for years and years, probably since my first year on YouTube. I've been blocked by him. But yeah, I mean, it's clear as day that these people are just so upset that individuals that are just everyday people who don't have their, I don't think most of them have journalism degrees, but maybe the two of them that have journalism degrees are becoming completely irrelevant. Like you mentioned, I did the interview with the CI Game CEO. I did one just a few weeks ago with Yoshimi Yasuda, the CEO of Dragami Games, the Lollipop Chainsaw Repop director. I've been doing a lot of interviews, and of course people like Endymion and Smash are getting a lot of inside information, and these people just can't take it.
They're coping and seething. Hey, Jason Schreier, how's that top of the charts hanging for you? This is not quite, you're not quite looking at the top of the charts, my guy. Like this is more like the bottom of the charts. I don't really know what to tell you, but yeah, he blocked me. I forgot what I did to him. He had posted something really retarded, and I quote tweeted it.
For him to do.
Yeah, I know. It's like, thanks, Hypnotic. That could be any tweet from Jason Schreier. Like, thanks for being specific. No, he posted something dumb, and I quote tweeted it. And literally, I remember saying this in the chat that we're in. I was like, literally, within 30 fucking seconds of that tweet, this man must live on Twitter. 30 seconds of that quote tweet, I was blocked. Almost instantaneously. I was like, wow. That's insane. I was like, I didn't even say anything that bad. And the guy just flat out fucking blocked me. He was like, nope, I'm not dealing with you, grifter. I am out.
Yeah,
It's
he
insane.
doesn't like to discuss things with people who do not share the same opinions as him. Where have we seen that before?
I know. Gee, where has that been? Everywhere, unfortunately.
He lives on Blue Sky now, though. They can keep him with
They're really trying to
and
make Blue Sky a
Alyssa.
thing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for them, it's not. It's already got a terrible reputation, but that's besides the point. All right. Let's catch up with some super chats, and then we'll move on to the next topic.